Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I am here to show you a faux quilted tree. And so what you're going to need is you're going to need a foam tree, and this one is 6 inches tall, and it is 3¼ inches diameter at the bottom. And so I had gotten these from Temu once again, and I've had to try to warm them and straighten them out. Some of them had big gashes in the side. So, you know, this is the best one out of the batch. So I needed to come up with an idea that was going to hide any of the imperfections, which a lot of your stuff will if you're going to do ribbon or whatever. But I just thought I had made some of these quilted round ornaments in the past, and I thought, let's try this on a tree form. So let's get started. You need your tree form. I used some fabric on some of them. Any type. I have lots and lots of scrap fabric. So one of them I did the gold and the velvet. One of them I did some farmhouse with the red and white and the deer. And I'm going to show you how I did this using ribbon. So you don't have to have fabric. If you have ribbon on hand, you can use that as well. The first thing I need to do is find out how wide I need my bottom pieces. And so I'm going to line this up. You can see here there is a seam all the way around where those pieces came together. And that's going to be my guide on where to start this. And so I know that I'm going to lay it across there, and I need enough to tuck in. So I'm just going to lay it right over that seam. And the reason I'm not putting a lot over that is I'm going to put a little bit of other ribbon over the top of it, and that's going to help tuck it in. But you do need enough room to tuck this in to your foam piece. So now I'm going to look at the bottom, and I can see it's over my line, and I'm going to come in, I'm going to mark another line. I need that one at least there. So I'm using my knife here, and I'm marking it. And so I'm going to draw that straight across with my knife. And now I have these two pieces here that are going to get me started. And so now I'm going to bring this on over to the next one. You can see there I have this section. Now I need to make sure I have this section, and I want it to be right about the same width. So I'm going to come in, drag that to the middle. I want to make sure that's right about the same. Mark it and come into the middle. And now I have those two pieces. And let's see, this is going to need probably 3 across here. So these are right about 3/4 of an inch each. So if I look at this and I measure it onto my mat here, I know it's going to need to be right about there. I'm just going to mark it and roll it again and right about there, and that's going to leave me 3/4. So you can see here, this is very, very inexpensive foam piece. So I'm going to bring that and cut it to the center. Bring that and cut it to the center. Now that's going to drag straight across, so I know that I have right about the same on that side and right about the same on that side. Now that is going to be my guide to go straight up to the top. So I'm going to use my knife, and I'm going to start right at that centerpiece. I'm going to go very slow because I don't want this tree to fall apart. Turn it over to the same on the other side. And each spot that I marked here, I'm going to do the same. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 5 sections on one side. So I want to mark here and drag straight to the tip here. Being slow and careful. If you need to, take a pencil and a ruler and mark it. You can do that. It won't take you long. That's straight edge enough for me. So I'm going to mark it there, and I'm going to bring it right to the tip of that tree. And so now I'm just going to take that pencil, drag it right along. So now I have a general idea. I want to make sure I get it lined up and even. So you can do that with a pencil and get yourself started. For me, it's just it's easier for me to just look at it and run a straight blade. It's easier to run a straight blade than it is a straight pencil. How many of you guys deal with that? So now I want to run it twice over that because that pencil did give me a little bit of groove. Nothing like this blade's going to give. I don't want it to be that thick at the top with my blade. You can see down here I'm going in pretty thick, but I don't want it that thick up at the top or you're going to cut your tip off. So my next piece, I'm just going to lay it down and draw it straight right on up to that top again. And now I have my marks all the way around my foam tree. Not difficult. This can take some time, but it's not hard. So now I want to look at this once again, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to make sure that this is right at 6 inch. Oh, it's going backwards. That's lovely. But it's only 12 inches, so we know right at 6 inches should cover enough on the top and the bottom. So let's do 6.5. So I'm going to go up here, and here's my 6.5. So let's just go up to 7. That way I can trim off any leftovers, and I know that I'm not going to have any issues. But how many pieces do I need? I think I need 10. So first I have that gingham, that pink check gingham, and then I have this chiffon to go over the top of it. The chiffon came in, oh my goodness, no, I think I got those on Temu a long time ago, but it's very sheer, and so you can actually lay it on top of the gingham. So I want to do every other one to be just the straight gingham, and so I'm going to go ahead and look at the bottom. And because I'm still dealing with my eyes, I went ahead and took my little paint marker here and marked everywhere I had put those little notches, so I knew exactly where I needed to lay my ribbon down. So you do what you need to do, but that's what helped me to actually line it up where I wasn't struggling. So I'm putting just enough ribbon over the top and looking at the bottom, and so I want to make sure that I can lay it on the bottom enough whereas when I pull it to the top, I'm not going to be having too much on the bottom and too much on the top. We'll kind of put it right in the middle. I'm using Fabri-Tac glue, and I'm just going to put some on that line and straight up to the top, and I'm going to lay my ribbon across there and just press it down with my fingers. Fabri-Tac glue really works really well with this item. The hot glue will melt your foam, but this Fabri-Tac works very good. So I went ahead and just put the glue down the center triangle that I had etched out and laid the ribbon up, and I'm just going to do that on every other one as I make my way around this tree. Actually, I think I did every third because the whole tree is going to have the gingham, but only every other one will have some chiffon ribbon over it. So I wanted to make sure that I could go ahead and get all these down. So I just went every 3, every 2, whichever, so I could have enough down there where I wouldn't have to wait for each one of them to dry if I did them individually. So once I had a few of them on there all the way around, I needed to use something to go ahead and tuck that ribbon down in the crevices that I created. Now, I tried a few things. It just depends on the foam and your material. I did use my Cricut spatula because I was able to stick that in there and then rock that ribbon down into place. I went ahead and did a little on each side as I worked up that tree to the top. I'm just going to continue this all the way around, making sure that those edges are all tucked in. Now they do get tighter towards the top, and I went ahead and just trimmed it off at an angle on both sides of that ribbon, so I didn't have too much to have to tuck into the top there, because that would have created a larger problem because there's not a lot of room up there, and it would definitely start breaking off your the tips of your trees. Now you can trim your ribbon first before you laid it down. I am a crafter by the seat of my pants, and so the way that I do this here, I know that not every tree area is going to be perfect. I am not an engineer. I did not measure everything out to the millimeter, and so each one of these are going to be a little different. So I didn't want to cut all my ribbon pieces down to one size in case the other segment of this tree was a different width in different areas. So once I got all of the first segments laid down and pressed into the tree, I went ahead and finished up with the last pieces of ribbon, going around doing the same exact thing, placing the ribbon on the bottom, doing some Fabri-Tac up that tree segment center, and then laying my ribbon down across the top of it. So you can see how it's coming together here nicely, and it does take a little bit of time because you're pressing it into that styrofoam, but it really does turn out really cute. The other trees that I did, I'll be showing you towards the end of the video, I actually did larger segments, which was a lot easier than the small segments here. So if you have the ribbon that's just like, this is I think a 3/4 1-inch ribbon, you are going to need more segments. But if you use the material like I did on the other trees, you can cut your material to the size you want for your tree. You will need to make sure it gets trimmed into that segment shape before you start putting it in. But this is just really easy. It's, lay it across there and poke it down into the little crevice, the little valley that you created in your styrofoam tree. Now here you can tell I stuck too much into one side of that segment and I didn't have enough to go nicely into the other side. So I just pulled it up. That's what's nice about this Fabri-Tac glue. It does not set right away. So if you do need to lift and reposition, it's really easy to do that. Can you see how easy this is? Once you get the hang of it and you know kind of what you're doing, it's really not difficult. You can make other designs on here as well. I just went with the typical shape of the tree, but you could do circles on here. You could do the stripes on here. You could go in horizontal or vertical. You could do anything with these. They could be so, so cute. But you can see that quilted look showing up on that tree. I'm just really happy with the way that turned out. I'm taking the thinner blade now because of it being located at that top. I'm just going through and making sure all my little edges are pushed down in there, and then we can start on the chiffon. Now with the chiffon, it's a little wider, and we have 10 segments, and so I'm going to do 2 of each, but I'm going to do 2 of the darker, it's kind of a rusty rose, and then 2 of the cream, and then I do 1 of a lighter, this is a lighter pink that I did. I got my bag out here and I was looking because I just wanted to get another color in there. Yeah, that light pink. And so when we lay this over the top of that chiffon ribbon, the chiffon over the top of that gingham ribbon, you're going to be able to see the gingham underneath it. And so each one of those segments are going to have a little bit of a different color tinge to them because of the ribbon I'm putting on top of it. So just like I did the bottom section, I'm going to lay that Fabri-Tac down. I am going to go ahead and put it in the creases now, not across the top, because I tell you that chiffon is so sheer, you will be able to see that glue pop through the chiffon. And here, look what I did. I laid it down in the crevices of the wrong segment. So pay attention, guys. We all make mistakes. We all do it. So just pay attention to what you're doing, and then you're just going to take that spatula once again and press it on down into those existing creases where you've already put the first ribbon down. It's so easy because you've already got that road laid out ahead of you. You just need to lay it down and then press it in. I'm going to lay one side down first, and I'm going to have it laid there just enough where I have the edge that I can press in. Then I'm going to come in, I'm going to trim off that excess, and then I'll glue down that last little bit. I'm going to come right in, trim it right off, where it gives me less than a 1/4 inch that I need to tuck in to that last little corner. I'm going to go ahead and do that on every other segment, rotating the color of chiffon ribbon that I'm putting on there. It was going to be that light pink, it's going to be that cream, and then it will be that kind of the rusty rose. I know it's more of a dusty rose, but it looks more rusty rose to me. But the same thing all the way around, tucking it in after you lay that fabric tack on it, and then coming in and trimming it up and getting it all tucked where it needs to be. I didn't think you wanted to sit here and watch me do all those segments again, so I just did the same thing. And let's move on to the bottom. I just used a scrap piece of some material here, some cream material, drew a very rough circle around it, tracing that tree bottom, cutting it out, and then I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my bottom is flat enough so this can lay right on top of it. I went ahead and just went in with some of my Fabri-Tac glue, and I just made sure all those little pieces are pressed down, giving me a flat surface that I can actually glue this onto and not have it look bulky or bulgy at the bottom. So you see me using my spatula here just to press it down. Sorry, I'm a little off camera there. I just was trying to hold it up close to me, knowing I've got to keep it under the camera view. But I'm sorry about that. It's just pressing it. You see, I'm pressing it and pulling it to the center, pressing and pulling it to the center. And it actually looks pretty good. So now I'm going to add the good portion there of my Fabri-Tac. I'm going to lay that down on top, press it in there, just using gravity and pressing it down to that bottom. And there you have it. We've got a very simple bottom on that tree. Here are some of the other ones I did create out of material. I used some bling on the farmhouse one, and there's the velvet and the gold. I wanted to show you the just how cute and how quilted these actually turned out. Let's go ahead and start embellishing these. I had already added some gold gemstones across the bottom to help cover up where I added the bottom piece. I have some little gold leaves that I had punched out, and it has some embossing on them, and I put those on the velvet pieces. And these buttons here look like they were like little snowflakes, so I thought that would make a great tree topper. And I used some of my Fabri-Tac to grab a hold of that at the bottom, and I will just use a clothespin here to clamp it on there and hold it while that Fabri-Tac dries. I did try to add a little bit of hot glue at the top. That did not work well, but we will get that set aside. And then I'm going to do the same type of thing here on the farmhouse tree, but I have snowflake buttons, and I'm going to use that Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to tack just one end of each of those snowflakes down behind the bows that I put on there. You can see I put some bling ribbon up and down just that piece on the tree that had the reindeer. I'm going to go ahead and hold that on there, and I'm going to use a clothespin and hold it down while that Fabri-Tac dries. Now, I did not use hot glue on these. I mean, I tried to, but I knew it wasn't going to work well because they're plastic buttons. It will eventually just pop off. So I went ahead and just made sure my Fabri-Tac was on there well enough that I could go ahead and just hold that together with my clothespin and come back and have that Fabri-Tac set up. Now these are some brads that I actually had in my stash for my scrapbooking supplies, and I took some of my Fabri-Tac, put them on the brad ends of it, and stuck it into the lines of the quilt on this tree. So I have 3, 6, 9 of these, and I put several of them on. I think I put 7 on the tree itself, going in between where I created that quilt look. And then I used the last 2 to make a topper out of it. Now towards the tops of your trees, to slide those in, it is a little more difficult. You see me struggling there a little bit. You have to actually bend those brad pieces down at an angle and then slide it in, because it's not thick enough up there to actually stick the brad straight through. So for the top, what I did is I went ahead and made sure I had glue all around where those fabric pieces meet in the top of that foam. And you can see me here, you need to fold that down. But all that, it is all glued at the top where that fabric and the foam meet together. And I want to measure this brad all the way around and see just where I need to trim off the extra brad piece there. So I trimmed off the one brad piece, and then on the second one, the second snowflake, I just trimmed off both pieces all together and just left that snowflake there. I went ahead and used the Fabri-Tac and glued it on the back, but you'll see I did not like the way that looked. It looked like it had scrunched up material at the top of that tree. So we're going to set that aside for right now, and I'm going to come in and I'm actually going to create the trunks of my trees. Now I use old dowels for this. These are my old foam paintbrushes that I've used quite a bit of, and then I'm going to use my miter shears and I'm going to cut these. I have cut some off of them already, but I'm going to cut these into the pieces and the size I need for my tree trunks. Once they are cut, I'm just going to lay some parchment paper down and get some of my chocolate sprinkle acrylic paint, and we are going to start painting these little babies. Honestly, it takes one coat. I didn't need to add anything more than one coat of the apple barrel chocolate sprinkles to these dowels. It covered up any of the colors that were on there, and once they were dry, I can come right on in with some hot glue and glue it to the bottom of our trees. And as you can see here, I am totally off camera doing that. But I just did a dollop of hot glue in the middle of the bottom, placed that dowel stick in that hot glue, and held it there for a moment while that glue solidified. And once I did that, I had all 3 of my trees done with trunks on the bottom. Now, yes, these are a little big for some smaller Christmas trees if you wanted to use them as ornaments, but for anybody that has a large tree or has big ornaments on their trees to fill up spaces, this would make a wonderful ornament for it. Now, I'm just using some gold, oh my goodness, I don't even remember, cording, gold cording, there we go. I'm using some gold cording, and I'm actually looping it through those buttons that I glued on there earlier. And you can see when I did that, I just looped it and glued it down to the bottom between those 2 buttons, and then tied on knot on top, and I was able to put a little glue on there so it would become an ornament now you can hang on your tree. For some reason, I just didn't think that this ornament was quite done. I just felt like it needed a little something more. So I went out to my ribbon box and I was looking, and I found this beautiful little gold ribbon that is, it's kind of plasticky, but it has that look of just like a lace. It's like a lace, but it's kind of a plasticky feel. So it actually does hold its shape really well. So I went ahead and just put that together, and I went ahead and made rabbit ear bows. Now the reason I did the rabbit ear bows is because this is actually a one-sided ribbon. There are two sides to this. You may not see it right away, but one side has some gold sparkly on it, where the other side is just the flat matte. And so I went ahead and did it with the bunny ears so I could have the gold sparkly on the outside. I then went ahead and just adjusted the legs of the legs of the ribbon. Oh my goodness, the tails of the ribbon there, and I wanted to make sure that it would be glued down so that that correct side, the right side of the material on that bow, would be seen. Do you like my verbiage here? My vocabulary? I'm just coming up with all sorts of words. So I'm just using a little bit of hot glue, and because, like I said, it is a plasticky type ribbon, you're going to have to hold it there a few moments. So just be careful. Use your finger protector if you need to. So for my red plaid and my deer heads, I went ahead and used this black ribbon, this black satin ribbon from Walmart. I think it's 98 cents a roll. And this worked out very well. I attached it the same way I did my velvet and gold ribbon. Give it a quick little tie at the top, add some hot glue in there so that it's not going to fray or slide apart. That satin ribbon can be tricky. It can definitely pull out if you're not careful with it. This is where I decided I did not like the way those snowflakes looked at the top of that gingham tree. The fabric at the top there was just a little thick for my liking. So I went ahead and I found some of this sparkly cording, and I cut a piece off to tie around the top of that tree. This was going to help pull it together and give it a more tapered end right around where that fabric is at. So once I get it nice and tight on there, I'm going to add some glue, and what happened was it just snapped in my hands. I'm like, yeah, this cording's a little older, so let's just add some more glue all the way around, tie it nice and tight, and then we know that that's not going to go anywhere, and it's given me that tapered look I want at the top of that tree. I created a topper just like I did for the other two trees by taking a piece of that cording, looping it and tying a knot in it. I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac glue, and I'm just going to poke it right on down to the top of that tree. I take the first snowflake brad there, and I'm going to wrap it around, and it's smaller now because I don't have, it's not as thick going, as it's not as wide, not as thick, but it's not as wide going all the way out, and so it fits nicely around the tip of that. I'm going to go ahead and just use my pliers here to squeeze down and arrange that brad so it's not poking out anywhere. I added some glue and put the other brad on the other side, holding it together, and then holding it down with my clothespin. It's ready to go. All right, y'all, that is this for the quilted trees, and here are them. Here they are on my tree. There is the farmhouse one, and right over here we have, there we go, we have the pink gingham, and right on up and over here we have our burgundy and gold. All of my ornaments on my tree are handmade. My garland is all handmade, and I try to add new ones each year, and I've been doing this, well, since before Joe and I got married, and we've been together now 8 years. So there are some really cool ornaments on this tree, and some that we have made together, some that I've made with the grandbabies each year, and we just have a blast doing it. So if you have any questions about any of these that I've made, just give me a holler and I will direct you to the video that they are shared in. Thank you so much for joining me today. I thank you for all the time that you spend with me, and I know and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to spend time with me while we're crafting. If you've not subscribed, I hope you will consider doing so now by hitting that subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow. And if you like it, give me a thumbs up, because that tells YouTube that others may also like this type of video. Thank you so much, guys. And as always, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now.